Good morning, dear students. Let us continue with this story, A Horse and Two Goats by R.K. Narayan. In the previous video, if you had followed it carefully, we had stopped at a point in the story at page 64 when Muni, the old man, realized that there was some kind of financial element that had entered in their conversation, and he had looked very carefully at the note that the man, the foreigner, had brought out before him. He hadn't seen anything like it before. He had seen the 5 rupee notes, he had seen the 10 rupee notes, he knew their color, he could judge by their color, but he had only seen them in others' hands, not in his hands. But he had never seen a note of that kind which the foreigner was showing him. And he hadn't had the fortune because his income was very low. He was a poor man, and his income was in the form of coppers and nickels, in the form of low denomination coins, very, very small in value. And he laughed to himself, noting that there was this man who had come by, stopped to ask him for change of such a high value. And he considered the note not as 100, but he had considered the note to be that of 1,000 or that of 10,000 rupees. And he was smiling to himself that how could a man stop by to ask him for change for such a big amount, as he assumed that the foreigner was asking him for change for either 1,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees. Here he began to grin, he began to smile with his teeth exposed, showing his teeth. Ask our village headman, he said. Go and ask the village headman. And he also said that the village headman was a money lender. Therefore, the village headman would easily be able to provide him with the change that he was looking for. He can change even a lakh of rupees in gold sovereigns if you prefer it that way. And he said to the foreigner that the village headman was so rich that he could give him a change for even a lakh of rupees in sovereigns, in gold sovereigns, if that is what the foreigner preferred to have. Gold sovereigns were a kind of British coins that were used way back in England between the years 1817 to 1914. And he went on to say that the village headman used to think or thought that none of the people living in Krutam knew how rich he was. The village headman used to think that people did not know that he had a lot of money. And Muni told the foreigner that if one went and dug the floor in the puja room, his house, in the puja room, one would be surprised and one's head would start swinging, reeling at the sight. The sight means seeing, witnessing how much money he had hoarded. Hoarded means he had gathered, he had accumulated under that floor of his puja room. That rich he was, but he pretended to be poor by dressing himself in disguise, wearing rags and torn clothes, just to mislead the people and make them feel that he was poor. In fact, he was very rich. The man disguises himself in rags and torn clothes just to mislead the people and to create an impression that he was poor. In fact, he was very rich. just to mislead the public. Talk to the headman yourself because he goes mad at the sight of me. So he told the foreigner that if he wanted change and if he really wanted change, he could go to the village headman and talk to the village headman for change himself and not ask him to do so, because the village headman did not like him and did not like his sight. The village headman would not be very happy to see Muni, and he went on to give the reason why the village headman was very angry with him and did not like the sight of him. Like the sight of him means did not like seeing him. The reason was that somebody had taken the pumpkin creeper of his farm along with the pumpkins. So the village headman had thought that it was Muni. It angered the village headman, and from there on the village headman did not want to see his face, or he did not want to see him at all. And Muni was cautious enough. Muni was very aware not to allow his goat go very close to the village headman's farm, or else he would be again blamed and would have to listen to all kinds of taunts and listen to all kinds of abuses by the village headman. So that is the reason behind why the village headman did not like him, and Muni proposed that he go himself to ask for the change if he wanted, for that note that he was showing him. That's why I never let my goats be seen anywhere near the farms. His eyes traveled as he talked about him trying to keep away his goats from all the farms there, because people thought that he was a thief. He had stolen the village headman's pumpkin creeper along with the pumpkins. He was very cautious to keep his prestige intact, his self-esteem and honor intact. He wouldn't allow the goats anywhere near the farms. And as he was talking about the goats, he looked at the goats. His eyes traveled to the goats, and these two goats, they were sniffing, they were smelling about and attempting means trying to wrest means pull out, force out from the dry earth the small vegetation that was available, the grass, the leaves, and whatever little vegetation they could find, whatever little green, minute, very, very small, minute means very, very small, wrest nutrition from the minute greenery peeping out of the rocks and dry earth. So here again, wrest meaning to pull out with force from someone's grip. Here the grip is by the dry earth, the cracks in the rocks, which had these small, very small little green leaves and grass and the foliage. That is what they were trying to pull out and draw nutrition from, so that they could satisfy their hunger. The foreigner followed Muni's glance or look in the direction which he was looking at, indicating the two goats he meant. He did not indicate, but he just happened to look in that direction. But the foreigner thought that he was saying something about the goats. And the foreigner thought that it would be a very good policy for him to show some kind of interest in those two goats, which he considered was Muni's pets. He did not consider them to be Muni's source of income. For Muni, they were his source of income. To the foreigner, it seemed that they were his pets. So he thought it would be a good policy to show affection and care towards his goats, show some interest towards his goats, which he considered to be Muni's pets, so that Muni would be pleased and he could easily get him to sell the statue of the horse. A sound policy, a good policy to show interest in the old man's pets. He went up casually to them and stroke means he began to pat them and move his hand across their backs to show his care and affection, love for them, trying to please Muni. Their backs with every show of courteous attention, with a lot of good attention, trying to please Muni. Now the truth dawned on the old man. Now suddenly looking at the foreigner stroking his 2 goats, he realized that the foreigner was interested in buying the 2 goats. His dream of a lifetime was about to be realized. The big dream of his lifetime was about to be realized, meaning was about to come true, he thought. That big dream of selling the 2 goats and earning quite a good sum so that he could start a business was soon going to come true, he thought. He realized that. He understood that the red man was actually making an offer for the goats. So he concluded, he understood that the red man had produced that note in trying to tell Muni that he was interested in buying his goats. Whereas the foreigner actually was interested in buying the horse statue from him, and he wasn't anyway interested in buying the 2 goats. So there was this error or errors in miscommunication and misinterpretation. Maladies of miscommunication and misinterpretation. Miscommunication, what they talked to each other, what they shared, was totally on 2 different things which had no connection to each other at all. They had miscommunicated with each other using all those gestures and signs with indicating with their hands. Misinterpretation, they had got the subject matter of each other wrong. One was talking about the horse statue and he was interested in buying that, and one was thinking that the foreigner was interested in buying his goods because he had seen the man very much interested and with care patting his 2 goats. He had reared them up in the hope of selling them one day, and with the capital opening a small shop on this very spot. So he had reared, means he had taken care of them. He had nurtured them. Taken care of them and brought them up, fed them and brought them up with a lot of care and hope of